Hey, all right, everyone. Welcome to Bigfoot Encounters live from Bigfoot Society. If someone in the comments could let me know if they can hear me loud and clear, that would be much appreciated before we get going. So we'll wait until someone gives the all clear in the YouTube comments, and then I will proceed with the roll call. We'll do roll call first here, see who we've got hanging out tonight. Awesome. All right. Thank you, Donnie. So a few things right off the bat. First off, thanks to everyone for being here. We've got a lot of new members today on the YouTube channel. We've got Beza Rosetta, YouTube member today. Vera Linz, I'm going to not say that right. I apologize. We got Ada Centeno here, is also now a YouTube member. Appreciate you all jumping on board. We got a lot of people. First in today is John Boy. We talked to John Boy, I believe, last week. He had some very interesting stories. So great to see you again, friend. We've got Robert Evans is a new YouTube channel member. Great to see you, Robert, in here again. And Robert shared to Twitter and Facebook. Thank you for doing that. We've got Laura here. Hello from Missouri. Excuse me. We got Ted Sockwell. Great to see you, Ted. Pamela Dotson listening from Maryland. Good to see you. Donnie Newingham. Good evening from Illinois. Great to see you. Jennifer Christensen is here. And great. We've got a lot of people in here right off the bat. Great to see everyone. So let me explain what this is all about. And so this is Bigfoot Encounters Live. And what we do is, hello, Alan. Good to see you, my friend Alan. So every weekend at 8:30 p.m. Central Standard Time on Saturday evenings, I do a live call-in show. So sometimes they get pretty busy. We get a ton of calls. It's for people to call in to share their Bigfoot encounter. Now, the thing here is that this is live broadcast to YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. And also this is recorded for the Bigfoot Society Podcast. So in order to call in, I'm going to go ahead and put a few things up on the board here. So there is a guest release form that you need to fill out first. If you go to bit.ly/Bigfoot form, fill that out real quick. It's a really easy form. And then you can call 515-809-0165. Pretty easy two-step process, but it's very important that you're able to fill out the guest release form first. So, all right. Now that that is in order, I am going to go ahead and let me. I got a feeling about tonight. I just got a feeling, guys. It's a wild week. It's a wild weekend in Bigfooting. Ohio Bigfoot Conference and the Bigfoot Smoky Mountain Bigfoot Festival in Townsend, Tennessee are both this weekend. Wild stuff. Rachel Williams is here. Hey, from Tennessee. Good to see you. Tommy Adkins from Logan, West Virginia. Love the show. Gene is here. Hey, Jeremiah. Hey, Bigfoot Society crew. So at this time, I would ask if you want to call. I've got the do not disturb off, and you can go ahead and call in now. And phone lines are now open, so you can go ahead. We got 45 people all ready and raring to go. Yeah, John Boy says it's easy to do the release form, and I'm a hillbilly. John Boy, you're great. It's fun to talk to you last week. Delroy is here. Great to see you. Just gonna check the phone real quick. Let me see if I can. Let's try this. All right, I'm going to try to call back our first caller here. Hey, is this Robert? Awesome. Thanks for calling in so quickly. How are you doing, man? Wow. Very good. If someone in the comments could let me know if they can hear Robert, that would be fantastic. So, We'll wait for someone to sound off in the comments here. See if you got it. Okay. Robert, if you could say something else here. Yeah. Right. No. All right. I am going to go ahead and I'm going to call you back actually, could I have you call back in real quick, Robert, just to make sure it's not a tech thing? Thank you. All right, guys, we are going to go ahead and see if we can get Robert to call back in here. Good evening, Mr. Mark Paul. Great to see you. Hope things are well. So we'll give Robert a few minutes to see if he can call back in. Hey, Robert. What in the world? Hey, Robert. Hey, all right. Well, let's see if the chat can hear us. I can hear you. Good. All right, friends in the chat. Let's make sure that someone can hear Robert. Someone can let us know if they can hear Robert here. We'll give him a minute. There's a little bit of a lag here. San Francisco. Oh my goodness, what in the heck? Okay. All right. I apologize. I'm going to have to I'm going to have to call you back. I apologize. Few minutes. Oh my goodness. All right. I'm going to do a full restart of my phone. Guys, it's nights like this where it's like, what in the world is going on with tech? It's wild. Just got to have patience. Guys, if you are not subscribed to Sibylla Irwin's Sketching Encounters YouTube channel, I would recommend that you definitely check that channel out. It is incredible. It is a really good time. Let me make sure. After I restart my phone, I'm gonna make sure I'm connected with Bluetooth. You guys are troopers. We got 50 people watching live, and appreciate your patience on this, guys. All right, I'm gonna call someone else real quick just to make sure it's not. Let's see. Hey, Steph, people are listening. Can you say something? Yeah, I know. That's why I said it right off the bat. Guys, can you hear the other person who is my wife on the phone? There's a lag on YouTube comments. No. Dang it. All right. Thanks, Steph. Bye. I don't know what to do. Hold on. All right, I'm going to play the intro again. Give me a few minutes, guys. Okay. Now we're up to 63 people. Okay, let's see if this worked. I went ahead and restarted some stuff. All right. Okay, calling back Robert real quick. All right.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Well, we'll see, Robert. I can hear you. All right. Someone in the comments, let me know if you can hear Robert.
The powers that be have really screwed me many times there, Jeremiah.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Yeah.
Powers that be have really
Oh,
screwed me many
Gene.
times
Okay.
there, Jeremiah.
All right. So one thing I'm going to ask,
Yes.
Robert, is if you can turn down the sound on your computer, please, because it's causing an
got
echo.
it.
Yep. Thank you. All right. So
They're hearing me. Yay!
perfect. I just want to say thank you to John Stiegel for becoming a YouTube channel member. Appreciate that, friend. All right, Robert. So you calling in, and what do you have to share, my friend?
Well, these beings, and that's all I'm going to call them, they are real. Expedition Bigfoot caught them using LiDAR up in Washington by Pete Kelsey, a very experienced and historic type of LiDAR person up there. I talked to him many times by texting him and emailing him, and he wouldn't tell me too much about what kind of machine he used because he didn't want anyone to get into his line of business, and that's understandable. Then Expedition Bigfoot was tracking one, and they used Spot, the robot dog, which had regular cameras and lights on the front and had a same type of LiDAR device on top. It went into a mine tunnel, which had 3 parts. It checked each one with the cameras and then with LiDAR. And when they looked at the LiDAR image, here was Bigfoot sitting on this big rock off to the left, which the camera could not see. These things were put onto YouTube. I was able to snag the pictures off using Snagit. I sent those photographs in to you where you could look at each and every one of them. Now, Expedition Bigfoot has also used another high-tech device where they were back in Tennessee. And they had this thing, it was a government-supplied thing where they were watching it watch things on another hillside. Here were 2 deer, and this thing expertly said, here's 2 deer, the right type deer, the name, everything, and here's Bigfoot right behind them. But it also declared it knew its life sign. Just like Star Trek with life sign readings, we have that technology. We've gotten so much technology from over 60 alien races since 1954 that you'd be surprised what they have. That's why they kick me off almost any show I've talked on before, mentioning this stuff.
Whoa. You get kicked off of radio shows?
Yes,
Really?
I've been on several radio shows. I can send you the exact show where you can watch because I save all this stuff. They have taken out 2 desktop computers and 19 laptop hard drives over the years. So I know how to save things now.
Oh, of
I know
your
what they can
personal
do, and I know what
devices?
they have done.
Yeah.
One of the shows, they couldn't hear me, so they said they tried to call me, but I was disconnected. That's what they said, and they called me again. Wow, I'm still here. Okay, whatever.
Robert, you're not Thinker Thunker, are you? Do you know who that is?
I'm sorry, what?
Are you Thinker Thunker? Someone in the chat thinks that you're Thinker Thunker. No,
Well,
I think you're just Robert.
I have always been a bookworm.
Mm-hmm.
Then in 2007, someone gave me a choice, and I accepted it. And this person said to warn as many humans as I could to supply backpacks, sleeping bags, all the essentials to live in the woods for at least 6 months. And I took it by its word. I started doing that. I've been on Facebook since 2007. I've been posting up pictures that I've gotten showing that we have a brown dwarf star down below our system, and it has 7 planets. Planet number 6 orbits upwards into our system, goes between Jupiter and Mars, goes around our sun, goes back down at anything from a 23 to 30 degree angle. This planet we all call Nibiru, or Planet 9.
Robert, I don't mean to cut you off.
No, go ahead.
Have you had?
I could go into any of the things I'm into.
I totally got it. Have you had any experiences looking for Bigfoot or Sasquatch over the years?
No.
Okay.
I've heard of all the shows since 1970.
Yep.
Especially the one with what was it? In Search of, with Spock.
Mm-hmm.
And okay, these are all kind of neat. They're all kind of neat. But when it came to Expedition Bigfoot, and they, at the end of Series 3, when they asked Pete Kelsey to come down and do the work to look for this underground military base, he starts off with his handheld LiDAR. I won't mention what type because he didn't want that mentioned. He starts walking with a camera person behind him, and they walk right into a Bigfoot. And the Bigfoot was ghost-like. Now, I showed these pieces to several friends on Facebook saying they were experts in this and that. And they said this Bigfoot had the ability to shift down into another plane where it could go ghost-like, and he caught it running away from him across his screen. And he called all this stuff.
Robert, yeah. I appreciate your enthusiasm about Expedition Bigfoot. I do want to keep this line open for people that have had encounters, just because it's one of the only ways that they can actually talk to someone. So
Understood.
I appreciate you, my friend, but I am gonna postpone this call for another time, I think. So
no problem. You know my phone number.
Yes, sir. You got it. I appreciate you, Robert.
Okay. Talk to you later. Bye.
You got it. All right. And be nice in the chat, please, guys. Okay. So all right. Well, we are rocking and rolling. Just for a reminder, this is Bigfoot Encounters Live. If you have a Bigfoot encounter that you would like to share live on the air, you can call on in. You do need to fill out a guest release form first, bit.ly/Bigfoot form, and then you can call on 515-809-0165. I'm going to make sure that we are all set to go here again. But thank you to Robert for calling in right off the bat. And you know, I will say, if anyone's watching, and if you were at the Smoky Mountain Festival or the Smoky Mountain Bigfoot Festival, or if you're at the Ohio Bigfoot Conference and you want to share a little bit about what's been going on there, give a report. You're welcome to call on in as well, but we're trying to keep these lines all good to go for those who have a Bigfoot encounter and they'd like to call in. So you can also share this show with your friends, anyone that has had a Bigfoot encounter and they want to call in. More than welcome to do that. Let's see. I'm going to check on the comments real quick here. We got a lot of people hanging out. We got 77 people hanging out. I appreciate you all being here. Let's see. All right. I'll give you guys a little sneak peek here of what's coming up. let me look at the YouTube real quick so I can pull this up while we're waiting perhaps for another caller. And you never know with these shows, guys. Sometimes we can just chat it back and forth for about an hour until we get a call in, or sometimes we get call-ins right off the bat here. We've got a few episodes ready and raring to go for this coming week. We have an episode coming out tomorrow. It's a Pennsylvania police officer, Matt Arner, sharing what he's experienced in the northwest part of the state in his research. So you won't want to miss that episode. There's a very interesting episode with Barb Hartman coming out this Monday about her habituation thing that's been going on, where she has multiple Bigfoot around her property in Puget Sound, Washington. Then we have a members-only episode coming out this Wednesday, and this is Dan, who's a hunter who's on an elk hunt in the Panhandle, or is it Panhandle? Yeah. Panhandle section of Idaho. And man, that is one of the most intense ones that I've heard. So definitely, if you want to make sure that you hear that, you can become a YouTube channel member, or you can join the Patreon at patreon.com/the Bigfoot Society. Let's see what we've got here. Let's get caught up with the chat. All right, Laura. So while we're waiting for another caller, I watch primarily for the content, but I must compliment Jeremiah's professional voice. Do you have a background in voice acting or radio DJ? No, I don't, but thank you for the nice words. I've never tried that. Let's see. Mary Bradshaw Duncan is here. Nice to see you, friend. Glad to be here from Port Jervis, New York. Hope I said that right. Marquezo, I did not do voices for cartoon characters, but maybe I should. Who knows? We got my good friend Squatch and Holler is here. Guys, if you like other shows that have to do with Bigfoot and Bigfoot encounters, make sure that you are subscribed to my friend Squatch and Holler. Roger is good stuff. He's a good friend. Vincent says he's already listened to the episode with TJ, and his encounter was intense. Yes, make sure that you don't miss out on the episode with TJ. It was a very intense episode that just came out a few days ago. He shares with his Bigfoot encounter in the Great Barrington, Massachusetts area in the Berkshires. And then far east Tennessee, they had a very interesting thing happen at an Airbnb. So definitely, that was an intense episode. And if you're going to listen to it, maybe use headphones, because it does get a little explicit. But that's the way the cookie crumbles. Let's see. Just want to shout out again. We've got 4 new members to shout out for the YouTube channel members. We got Bessa Rosetta. We've got Ada Centeno. We've got Vera Links. And we've got John Stegall. Thank you so much all for being YouTube channel members. let's see. I want to make sure I shout out Mr. Mark Paul for being YouTube channel member as well. I appreciate that, my friend. And let's make sure that I don't think I missed anyone. I'm looking real quick. Nope. All right. Okay, we got Night Ned Photography, Squatch in Maryland. Only heard 2 knocks, not worth the call. Well, I'm not going to say no. I mean, if you want to, you always can. Totally up to you. I mean, I think that any Bigfoot interaction is worth talking about for sure. We're up to 93 people. I appreciate y'all being here. Is anyone at the Hollis? Good to see you. You are a little late, but I'm not mad about it. Don't worry about it. I'm just kidding with you. John Boy, Jeremiah, you're the first channel that I've ever told my encounters on, and the first researcher that really caught my attention. John Boy, I appreciate that. And I have a feeling you have something very interesting going on your property, just from what I've heard from you so far. Yeah, definitely any audio. If you can start capturing audio on your property, that might be interesting. Good stuff. Good stuff. All right, let me make sure the phone is revved up, ready to go. Appreciate y'all being here. Let me make sure we're going to get this back on here. Guys, if you've got a Bigfoot encounter to share, you can go ahead and call or you can fill out the guest release form, bit.ly/Bigfoot forum. Then you can call 515-809-0165. Yeah, Mr. Mark Paul. Yep. Jeremiah gave me my first chance also. Absolutely. Yeah, there's quiet, my friend. There's stuff going on. Yes. There is some stuff going on, and we'll leave it there for now. Yep. There's going to be an interesting chat in the future, I think, Mark. I would hope that there will be, but would really love to leave that for a future conversation that can be controlled, if you get what I mean. Buddy, let's see. Okay, Squatch and Holler. I have a good recorder coming in Monday. We will start leaving it out all night. Oh, okay. Mark Paul, yeah, you think? Right. I know, buddy. I know. Squatch and Holler, what kind of recorder did you get? I'm curious what kind of recorder you have coming in. Let's see. I'm going to go ahead and while we're waiting for call-ins, let's do our old standby, which is request a county and state for me to look up a Bigfoot encounter from BFRO, and then I'll read it to you guys. So, oh, snap. Okay, we got an update from John Boy real quick. I heard footfalls last night. Not really a big story, but you could tell the long stride by the time it took between the sound and distance covered. My dog was really quiet. Wow. Oh, John Boy, you've got some wild stuff going on that property. Let me think. You have now Bigfoot. You have pale crawlers. You have potentially a portal. You have what was the other thing? Orbs. You've got a lot of stuff going on, my friend. All right, DeWitt County, Illinois. I'll look that up in a minute. Mark, Jeremiah's fair with everyone. I try to be, my friend. I try to be. Squatch and Holler, Zoom H1 Essential 32-bit. That's a good one, right? I'm pretty sure that's a good one from what I've heard. All right, so let's look up DeWitt County. Illinois. I got to share the screen here. All right, here we go. DeWitt County. DeWitt has 2. One of them is a media article. We got June 2009, Class A. This is by Farmer City. I was out late one night catfishing at Clinton Lake by myself. I had been there for probably a couple hours and hadn't really been catching much. I'd talked to a few people who had been coming in on boats and seen a few going out. It seemed like a normal night for the most part. About an hour after I'd seen the last person left, I was starting to get the feeling I was being watched. I shrugged it off because I knew there were raccoons, possums, coyotes, even stray dogs and cats. So I dismiss it and resume my fishing. After a while, I notice how quiet it is. All I can hear is the faint breeze and the water lapping on the boat ramp where I'm sitting. Right about now, I'm starting to get spooked. I know when there's a predator of some kind around that this usually happens. I'm an avid duck hunter and die-hard cat fisherman, so I'm used to traipsing around in the dark. I figure it's just a coyote eyeballing me, so I get my flashlight and get up to take a look around. I look around for a bit and don't see anything. I once again put this out of my head, starting to think I'm losing my mind. After a little while longer, I still notice there isn't any sound. As I'm sitting there staring across the lake, the hair on my arms and neck start to stand up. I don't really spook that easy, but when the hair stands up, something is watching you. I decided that I had all I could stand, and I threw all my stuff in my truck and left. On my way home, I called Dad and told him what was going on. He told me back in the 70s there were sightings of what the town called the Salt Creek Monster. I'm no skeptic, but at the same time, I hadn't ever seen it. After a while, he tells me I should go back and check the place out a little more closely. I decided it was probably a good idea just for some peace of mind. I drive back out to the boat launch and park in the parking lot. I have the truck lights on as well as my flashlight that I'm scanning the area with. After about 15 minutes, I give up and go to leave. As I'm turning around in the parking lot, the truck lights pick us something up standing in the trees. I immediately stomp on the brakes, and about 20 yards away, I'm looking at something that's probably 7 feet tall, not overly muscular, but it was covered in black hair. It also had a big pair of yellow eyes. I had a deer in the headlights look about it, and it tore off running through the trees along the lake. I had been in track in high school, and this easily outpaced the fastest runners I'd ever seen. When it ran, it didn't pump its arms. They just swayed a bit. Before I really understood what I was seeing, it was gone. I drove my little truck as fast as I could all the way home. Oof, that's wild. Funny thing about that story is he called his parent, and then the parent was like, oh, go back and check it out. That's usually something that you don't hear. Let me get caught up here. Mark Paul says, get ready, everyone. Leaves are now out in full. Bigfoot coming close when they have cover. Absolutely. Terry Richards. I don't want to call in, but I never believed in real squatches until around 2005 on a turkey hunt in PA. Early morning, tree knocks, low whoop, loud whoop, almost sounded like geese, but it wasn't. That's really interesting. Wow. Thank you for at least sharing that in the answer is yes, my friend, to the person who just texted me. Let's see. John Boy, Vincent, I have weird stuff. Nothing at all like the ranch. Oh, yeah, you're talking about Skinwalker Ranch. That's funny. Guys, we're up to 112 people. There's got to be some, I'll say this. Phone lines are open, guys. If you have a Bigfoot encounter you want to share, go ahead and make sure you fill out the guest release form, bit.ly/Bigfoot forum, and then call 515-809-0165. It is, who could this be?
To accept, press 1. To send a voice.
Hey, is this Roger?
Yes, sir. Is this JB?
Hey, bud. Hey, Squatch and Holler. Guys, let me know
How's
if
it
you
going?
can. It's going well. Let me know if you can hear Roger in the chat real quick. I'm so.
Yeah, because I'm not watching, so I'll just.
Did you see the beginning of the show? I had some crazy audio stuff going on.
No, I came in late.
Oh, you're good.
We were watching a movie, so.
All right, we got a yes. So hopefully you're watching a good movie.
It was okay.
All right. What's going on, man?
Not much. I thought I'd, call in and we could talk about, I was on one of your episodes, and I want to thank you for that because it kind of got me started in doing what I'm doing now. And so transitioning from being somebody asking a lot of questions to getting boots on the ground, so to speak, and having some things happen has been a wild year. So it's and listening to your show and people that have been having experiences for years. It's pretty amazing now that we can talk about it. And not being able to talk about it for years. So
Absolutely,
it's been a wild year.
Absolutely. I mean, that episode was wild. Do you mind sharing a little bit about? You got to do some really cool things after that. You were involved at a conference.
Yeah. So I went on Jeremiah's show and just gushed. I was nervous. Just hadn't talked about some of the stuff that happened to me when I was younger. I saw one when I was 14. Had about a 30-second or so good look at this thing. It turned and looked at me and wasn't concerned that, I was there. And I'd hunted those woods for, years before that. So I think it kind of knew me. I didn't know that then, but now, learning from all the people, it just wasn't concerned that I saw it. So got to see it walk up a hill, and I can go back with that now, knowing about some of the anatomy from researchers, and I've actually made good points to them because of what I witnessed. And so, yeah, it just had some weird stuff happen, and then went 30-something years without anything happening. And then it fired up again in 2020. And from, over the years, I had looked at YouTube like a lot of people. Didn't have anybody here in rural Tennessee to talk to about it. And so when things started happening, I was like, wait, is this what I think it is? So anyway, went from there, did your show, was nervous and scared, but Jeremiah that's an easy process. He makes you feel comfortable and he takes it. So I know I messed up and said some wrong words, and he probably deleted those, but you don't have to worry about it if you come on the show. Just be yourself and tell the truth. So the first after that, the first Bigfoot conference I ever went to was July 22nd last year. And I ended up getting on stage and telling a little bit of my story in front of everybody, and got to meet a lot of great people. And from there on, I do interview people because the reason I do it, I'm like you, I have a ton of questions. Like, I didn't realize how deep this stuff went and how it's connected to other things. So I've been learning. I talk too much, but so I started a show so I could ask questions, and the way I say it, I put it is, look, we're gonna have fun with this. We're gonna laugh and cut up and have fun, but we take the subject seriously. And so some people, they get in, and I've done it. I've get the boots on the ground and the audio and the video, and things have happened, and it's stressful, and you have to, go over in your mind and talk to some of the experts, being new at this, and it can get stressful, and you got to back away sometimes. But we've, since your show, when I told my stories, I have found, let me make sure I'm right, we found footprints in Bankhead National Forest. We found footprints in Lincoln County here. And in Land Between the Lakes, I found an 18-inch footprint along with some other 14s and smallers, it looked like a family walking through this mud. And little did I know, with the contacts that I've made over the last year, some great contacts just to fall back on and ask questions. I got a bunch of pictures sent. Said, do you know that you found similar footprints to these? They sent me, in Messenger, these pictures, and they did get them, casted, but about 3 years prior in the same exact spot. The only reason I found them was because we had a drought last year in the southeast. And this bay that's usually full of water, of course, we went back a few weeks ago for the meet and greet, and this bay is just full of water. I never would have found these tracks. I saw them from 80 yards away in the mud.
Wow.
And knew they were too big. And so here I go. And, it's tough when you're by yourself. My wife and my dog was in the truck, and I wasn't expecting to find the type of tracks I did. I got them documented on video. That's about as good as I could do. But y'all, people tell you all the time, oh, you should have done this. I got made fun of because I didn't cast them. I could have had 100 pounds of casting material, and I wouldn't have done it by myself because I felt exposed out there. When you find tracks this large, and of course I've got the luxury of seeing one before, but that was, I'm 53 now. That's a long time ago. And we've had other stuff happen with calls and stuff like that, house. But when you see physical evidence, even knowing, it puts you on edge. So I got back. I did the best I could to get them documented on the video. And got back to the truck, and my wife, when I went down there, the windows were down, and I'm like, "Hey, you got me locked out. What's going on?" And she said, "When you were out there, a rock come out of the woods, landed, skipped towards the truck, about the weight of a golf ball." Ooh. And she said, "I was been watching the mirrors and lock the doors." And I said, "Okay, if this ever happens again, that's the point where you blow the horn, start waving and get back here." But yeah, so it's been a journey, but I want to be involved in all of it,
Oh, absolutely.
And you heard the audio from last weekend, which was absolutely terrifying.
Can I play that right now?
Yeah, you can.
All right, because I have that. You sent it to me today, and I just uploaded it, so I'm pretty sure we can play it in here just so people can. It's fascinating, and then maybe you can give some background to what was going on.
Go ahead and play it, and then
Right,
I'll let everybody know.
Yep.
Does it? Yeah. That's too far away from him. Is that on his phone? Come here. No. Oh my God. Get up here. Get up here now. Is that wolves? Is that wolves?
Oh, no, come here. Yeah, it is.
All right, I hope that worked. Man, that audio though, guys, you gotta check out Squatch and Holler's YouTube channel because it's up there as well. But
the audio on the short, there was I'm not good at all this, but there was a way I could turn up the volume a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So the howls, you can hear the howls or the screams or whatever a little better. I couldn't hear it on the phone here, but I'll walk you through what was happening. There's a 30-minute video, and we've had things happen without recorders on. I've messed up. I've had some amazing things happen, and I've learned to turn whatever you have, turn it on, just leave it on. So I decided, to turn my phone on. Well, not even 2 minutes, maybe not even a minute into this video is when this happened. So we took the lower road, and there was a couple up top. I thought maybe they were smoking a cigarette or whatever. This is outside of Sylacauga, Alabama. It's the place where, you know, you showed me you had somebody on talking about the hunter that got shredded below the tree stand.
Yep.
This is about 100 yards from that incident. So we saw them, and we're the only 4 out there. Everybody else is at camp. There's a handful of people back there, and they're eating. And so I thought, you know, this might be a good time to get close to dark to go back here. So I turned my phone on, and I'm just doing a little chit chatting. And all of a sudden, now when things happen, your brain process, it takes longer to tell what happened than it actually took to happen. So when I hear the first one, I whip around. I mean, you can see in the video, I whip towards it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, first thing I think is that idiot call blasting with all of us here in this, you know, dangerous place. That's the first thought. And as loud as it was, he would have had to have a huge speaker, right? So, and these people, the wife was a non-believer. He had some things that had been happening around his house. So he was there to talk to a researcher, and they invited him down. So the first howl happened, and, you know, we stop in our tracks. It's just extremely loud, and it didn't sound canine at all. I've heard this before. I've had the sounds analyzed, and it came back possible, you know, Bigfoot, booger, whatever, because of the signature that it leaves on the spectrograph. So I'd heard this before, but not that loud. And I asked a question. I start asking questions immediately, not to anybody in particular, but like, is that on his phone? And then I'm like, there's no way, because, you know, that's too loud. Then the second one hits, it's an answer back. It's not in the same location. So the first one is at about 11. Once I turn around, it's about 11 o'clock. The second one is probably more like 12:30, 1 o'clock. So when this thing fired off, it got a call back to the right. I don't know which way I was pointing, east or west or whatever, but so then this is all going through my mind, and I'm thinking, we've got to get back closer to camp. I think, you know, I'm like, come on, let's go. So then I noticed the lady, I knew she was a non-believer. I'd talked to him before. She takes off running, and I think I've got to get to her before she hurts herself, because she's panicking. And so I'm popping out of this brush type, sort of the woods and the trees, and I'm thinking she doesn't see me, and it's darker than it looks like on video. And if I pop out of here, she's going to die, heart attack. So I had to say something to let her know I was a human coming out of the dark. And so I just let, as that was, she didn't hear me the first time. The second time she did. And she immediately, I couldn't understand what she said, something about help. And she takes off back to her husband, and he's just watching, just looking into the woods. And we get there, there's about, if I remember correctly, 7 or 8 answer backs, back and forth. It just went crazy. And so I got to him, and I'm asking him, you know, what are you looking at? What's happened? He heard a growl before that started up. And he said it sounded like a chainsaw. So I'd asked him a few questions that I've learned about, and so it kind of fit the bill, you know, of a small one trying to do infrasound, which sounds crazy, but Kumbo Baker had described that to me. I had some experience with that, and said it was too young, so it couldn't hit the low notes, and so you could hear it. Well, that reminded me of it when he said it, so we're talking. Well, then the coyotes fire up back towards camp, way back over there. They're loud, but as soon as they fire up, I'm like, oh, that's coyotes right there. There's no doubt. But these other two, long story short, we got back to camp, told what was happening. The next morning, I left. I didn't stay there. After that, we drove 3.5 hours back from Sylacauga, Alabama, back home. We got home about 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, no, I'm not staying here. So I get it to my friend. He got a spectrograph, and he immediately starts analyzing. And it's the same thing as the one mid-year last year, just louder. And the signatures in the 400 to 600 megahertz range, but it's the signature like a upside down Nike swoosh. He told me that a lot of the researchers, Mark Newbill, you know, there's a lot of them that kind of are tied together a little bit, you know, as it is across the country. They're tight-knit groups of researchers, you know, in each area. They come to the conclusion that it's possible that these howls, that this signature doesn't fit any known North American animal. The signature, not the range, you know, I misquoted that. But he said it's the signature that's the thing. And then he took the coyotes, and it's totally different. I mean, you can see it. It's so, you know, I'm gonna go with his analysis because we just don't know. But I do know that I'm 53 and I've only heard that a couple times, maybe 3 times my whole life. And all 3 times it was the same sort of reaction. You know, it's something that's not just normally out in the woods screaming, and it's just abnormally loud. I mean, it's just it was terrifying, exhilarating, everything wrapped into one. And I think I was more concerned about the lady tripping and falling and hurting herself, and that kind of took a little bit of the fear off of me. And they just didn't sound aggressive, if that makes sense. So anyway, it was a wild 30 minutes. And y'all, if you go out, the piece of advice I can give you, now I've made these mistakes, turn the recorder on before you get out of the vehicle.
Absolutely. Yep.
And that way you have it covered. We had a scream one night in the field with us. We'd been here 3 hours. I gave up. I threw my phone and stuff in the truck. And an hour later or so, one of the most terrifying screams 30 yards behind us in the field with us at about 1 a.m. 3 witnesses besides me. One won't talk about it because she ran and locked everybody out of the truck. Won't go back with us. And if I had that on audio, and I don't, so there's no proof. But the way I explain it to people, I try to paint a picture with words, you know, sometimes because you can't get it across sometimes. This is going to sound bad.
Mm-hmm.
But when I tell people this, they have the reaction that I want. They may get it. So the scream it sounded almost human for a half second. It sounded male. It went up so high and lasted 8 to 10 seconds. Of course, we had reactions to it, but the only way I can describe it is if you took somebody and mentally tortured them for a week, then tied them to a tree and tried to saw their ankles off with a handsaw.
Oh.
And people look at me like, what? And I'm like, you get it. Okay, I got you to get it a little bit.
Yeah.
That's the reaction we had, was like, what in the heck is this?
Yeah.
So turn those recorders on, keep them, invest in it, you know, buy you one that you can afford, but have it on. I mean, because the thing is, when you do get evidence, it's like scoring a touchdown in the Super Bowl. Maybe only 20 people is going to hear it, maybe just the people that were there. But what happens is, when we got back home the first time, we barely could hear it on the phone. But that's all I needed. It's for you mainly, you know, because when you hear these things, you're like, did I just hear that?
Right.
When you can go replay it, you know that you did. So that's, you know, we've had some crazy stuff happen. And that's just a kind of a, you know, quick version of it, because, you know, I could talk for hours. But
Right. Roger, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I know what you're about to say.
Do you have the full 30 minutes recorded?
I do.
You do? Why
and it's
dude.
Well, because what it is, it's not all howls and calls, but I went and got Mark Green, Flat Rock,
Yep,
Justin, who had a recorder out, and there were 5 of us standing there in the dark. It was totally pitch dark then. Well, I kept it running because just in case something happened, and I went back and did a show where I was talking to everybody, and you know, and I haven't listened to it all, but you know, when you're bouncing ideas off each other, and I was nervous and scared, but I wanted to document it, to have it like what happened after. Oh, here's a funny thing, y'all. So while we were standing there, before I went back to camp to tell everybody what just happened, where we were standing, now it's getting almost dark. Where we were standing, it was kind of a little hill, little rise there. So if you were standing there, JB, and you had a black jacket on, I would probably be able to see the jacket up, right? The bottom of the jacket up.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we didn't know it, but there's a guy who had walked from camp. He had to use the restroom, and here we are standing there, so he had to go further. When I turn, all I see is this black figure.
Oh my goodness, dude. That must have freaked you
oh
out.
my God.
Yeah.
I jump. Oh yes, because I'm already on edge. But I zoom in on him and get I can't see it really good there, but we went back to camp and looked at it. And I told the guy, I think I have a man walking, but we need to figure out who it was. We did a head count and we went around and asked everybody. The guy was like, that's me. So I looked at his clothes. We zoomed in and I said, yeah, I can see your shoes actually. So,
Okay.
And I was pretty sure, but it scared me. I was pretty sure, that's one reason I left the thing on. That's a good lesson. If I hadn't had it on and I just got a glimpse of him, I could have mistakenly said, hey, I think I saw something over here that might have been, so we ruled it out.
Yep,
so
absolutely.
Keep your video rolling, keep your audio rolling. You can rule things out. And that's the main thing. You don't want to ever put something out there that's not, you can say, now, I don't know what this is. Y'all, you be the judge or whatever, but I don't want to ever mislead anybody. So, but we talked about it. So we have this whole conversation between all of us going, and then we find out that there are recorders out there. And yeah, it was just amazing. We left soon after that because I was on edge a little bit. But yeah, I mean, but the thing is, you have to go to where the possibility, we've been Land Between the Lakes twice. We go here. We got a couple places here. We go, this was the first time at Holland Hunter Camp. You guys can look up the episode. I don't know what number it is that you did on that. But where they talk about that incident. Well, that's where we were. And I asked Mark, I said, how far away was the body found? He said, you saw the text. I sent you the text. He said, you're about 100 yards from where we were standing when we caught the audio from where they found the body. And he went, when he does investigations, he's just a regular guy like all of us, but he'll go and he'll talk to the police. And he got a copy of the official police report. And it said that the hunter was killed by, I think it said unknown animal or unidentified animal, something like that. So,
yeah, if you want to listen to the episode, guys, it's episode 255 of Bigfoot Society with John Burton. And it's a wild story. And, dude, I don't know if I would go to that area knowing that I was 100 yards away from where that happened. Like, I know you didn't know before you went, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I didn't. They're like, hey, come on down, have a good time, let's camp out. I'm like, okay. And as soon as I get there, if you see, there's a guy who goes by Michael X in the chat and a lot of the shows.
Okay.
I hadn't met him at Land Between the Lakes, and he comes up and starts telling me the history of the place. I'm like, wait, what? He said, yeah. He said, there was a tent. Listen to this. I don't know if this was on the episode or not, but he said, yeah, right here, the opposite way, right down there, Mark and I don't want to misspeak, Mark. I just put Mark and maybe some other people came up here. He said they came up here a while back, and there was a brand new tent down here. There was a purse, ID, makeup, men's accessories, everything was left. Somebody left here in a hurry and left everything and never came back. So I'm like, now wait a minute. And he said, yeah, and then the hunter was killed right over there. And I'm like, what hunter? What are you talking about? And he said, you didn't know about the history of this place? I'm like, obviously not. I was standing here. I would have been, I don't like that where it gets violent, right? I mean, that's just, that's asking for it. So yeah, it's an amazing place, and it's, there was a lot of activity. Sounds were, possible tree knocks. There were recorders there's an abundance of howls and screams, and of course some of them are, they're coyotes and stuff like that. But I've heard some already that strange. I heard one that there was two sounds, and to me it sounded like somebody maybe doing a call, a guy doing it, and I'll be honest with them when they send it to me, but there are some that are just like, I don't know. And if you put them on the spectrograph, the spectrograph, the numbers don't lie. So anyway.
Exactly. Yeah. If you know how to read the spectrograph, that's where you can really tell if stuff is a Bigfoot vocalization. And Ontario Richardson helped me out a lot with that last August, September. Yes. She's a great researcher in Iowa. But, she's a great source to have. I actually send her the sounds to go over, and she was happy to do that. And her and somebody else without a spectrograph, actually, their opinion was that it could be this, this, and this, and it was exactly what the spectrograph showed. So they went over it and had to come to the same conclusion. I'm not going to say, nobody's saying what it exactly is, because you can't. But the thing is, footprints can be faked, which it's hard to now, because people are smart. They go do research. You can tell if it's fake if you see it online. Photos with AI can be faked. Video can be faked. All of this stuff, is sketchy nowadays because of the technology. But the sounds, I don't know. I don't think that can be. It may can. But the thing is, with me, we were there. We were fortunate enough to catch it. If I hadn't turned my camera on, or had waited 3 minutes, it would already been going on. And when something's happening, you ever try to take a picture of a grandkid or one of your kids, and they're doing something cute, and by the time you get the camera on, they're out in the driveway somewhere. You're like, so when things are happening and it's scary, it's hard. So yeah, it's nearly impossible to get your phone out that quick to take a picture of a Bigfoot. From what I would guess. I've never tried it, but
the thing is, just think about real life. If you see some of you see a bird or something you want to get a picture of, and by the time you get something out, you can have it there with you. Now, unless you have your camera locked and loaded and right there on your chest, but if most of the time when people have encounters or screams or hollers or visuals or whatever, they're not expecting it. 99% of the people or more than 99%, they're not expecting it. So, and Greg made a great comment the other night. I laughed, but to put this in perspective, somebody said, well, why don't we have a clear picture? We have clear pictures of all these other animals. He said, well, let me put it to you this way. You go to a zoo. You go to a big zoo somewhere out west in California, or you go somewhere in the southeast, and you're looking at the animals. There are gorillas, there are giraffes. Let's take the dangerous animals. You stand outside that cage, get all the good, pretty clear pictures you want. But if I toss you inside that cage, how many pictures you gonna get? So that's kind of sums it up.
Oh yeah, exactly. That's a great analogy, but it's wild stuff. Oh man, Roger, it has been fun chatting with you, my guy. I appreciate you.
Sir.
We've got it's
anytime.
crazy. We got 170 people watching right now, man. They're having a good time. This is a record, I think. But guys, if you're not subscribed to Squatch and Holler, go do that after this. Make sure you're subscribed. It's great content, great Bigfoot content. So thank you so much for calling, Roger.
Yes, sir. Anytime. I'll talk to you later.
All right. Talk to you.
Thank y'all.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Awesome. Good stuff. Roger is a great guy. Great guy. We got over 170 people watching live. I appreciate you all being here. just a reminder, this is Bigfoot Encounters live from Bigfoot Society. If you've had a Bigfoot encounter and you would like to call in, you can first fill out the guest release form, bit.ly/Bigfoot form, then call 515-809-0165. That's because this is broadcast live on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, and it's recorded, so be used potentially for a future Bigfoot Society episode. Also, if you were at the Ohio Bigfoot Conference or the Smoky Mountain Townsend Bigfoot Festival, whatever it's called, you can call in and share about that too. Yeah. Oh man, that audio was wild. If you want to see that audio again, go over to Squatch and Holler YouTube channel and check it out. It's wild stuff. All right, while we're waiting to see if we're going to get another call, let me see if I can find another county here. Scrolling. Appreciate y'all being here. We're up to 180. Man. Okay. All right, John Boy. I'm going to look up Henry County, Tennessee. Good old Tennessee. Henry County doesn't have any, which, if that's your county, I find that surprising, because I know there's some stuff going on. All right, let's look up Jackson County, Missouri. All right, add this here. Missouri's got some wild stuff, but does Jackson? That's the question. It does. Oh man, there's 9 in Jackson. All right, let me find a good one. I'm looking for Class A's. Okay, let's check this one out. Man observes with his binoculars a large hairy biped at the James A. Reed Wildlife Area. I think. Hold on, I need to look this up on my map real quick. Oh yeah, okay, so this county is right outside of Kansas City. Okay, guys, so it is just southeast of Kansas City. Let's continue. While birding the James Reed Wildlife Area in Lee's Summit, Missouri, in the late afternoon of March 8th, 2013, I observed in the tree line on the white side of Bodark Lake a large brown hairy creature walking along the edge of the lake. It appeared to be 7 feet tall and have a long stride and arm swing. I observed this for 5 minutes from the parking lot of this lake. I observed this animal with my binoculars. The animal walked into the woods. This area has cut back the brush in the area, opening large areas to view that have been obscured for many years. Oh, that's wild. It's especially crazy that it is so close to Kansas City. All right. Laura, let's see. Cole County, Missouri. Cole County doesn't have anything, my friend. Is that, let me look up Alaska real quick. Alaska. Fairbanks, you got it, friend. Okay. Ooh. This looks fun. Okay, so this is sighting by Army personnel on maneuvers in the late 1970s by Black Rapids Glacier. This was submitted by the witness on June 15th, 1998. I was part of... Donald Norris, if you're in here, thank you for joining the Patreon. I just got the email. I appreciate you joining the Patreon. But yeah, if Donald's in here. It's patreon.com/the Bigfoot Society. All right, here we go. I was part of a group of about a dozen Army personnel training in the area. It was summer on a warm, clear day. We were above tree line and been camped there for several days. I was looking across the nearest valley when I spotted movement. It was on the base of a steep mountainside in bare, rocky terrain with snowfields descending down the small gullies on the hillside. It was moving up the valley about a half-mile away. When it crossed the snow, you could plainly see that it was not a bear. It walked upright with long strides and arms swinging and moved fast across the white snow. It was dark in color like a bear. I'd seen bears many times since in the same type of terrain, and they do not move like this did. It was too big and fast to be a human. Bears can and do walk upright, usually for short instances when they need to see or smell something and need the height. They don't travel in this manner and not in difficult terrain. I pointed it out to the other guys, and we watched until you could no longer see it. When it was out of the snow, it was hard to see against the rocks. We wanted to go look at the tracks, but everyone was scared to go down there. We had to sleep there that night, and no one would go outside after dark. The next day, we got out and never went back. 20 years later, I still would not go up there, even with a group and with weapons. The only thing I've seen that looked like this is a description of Bigfoot. Very interesting. Good stuff. All right, so we are going to, I'm going to say, we're going to give this about a, we'll do like a 15-minute. This is our 15-minute warning. So if you have 185 people, guys, this is a lot. There's a lot of people watching live. I appreciate you all being here. If anyone has a Bigfoot encounter they would like, all right, party time.
Gordon Bland.
To accept, press 1. To send a voice.
Hey, Gordon.
Hi.
Hey, this is Jeremiah. Were you able to fill out the guest release form, Gordon?
I went through and read a form and signed some things and clicked agree and
Perfect. Yep.
And yeah,
you got it. Thank you, sir. Well, thank you for calling in. I am gonna, if you would be able to turn down the sound on the, I can hear it in the background just to make sure there's not an audio loop.
Let's see here. Does that help?
Yes, sir. Yep. And it sounds like the chat can hear you as well. So, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and give it over to you to share what you would like to share today, Gordon.
Okay, thank you. Well, anyway, I'm 63 years old. I enjoy the outdoors. I love camping, and about, 45 years ago, I had my own kind of a strange encounter with, all I can describe it as is maybe an alien UFO type situation. I won't go into that detail at the moment if you don't want me to, but I say that to preface my interest in paranormal related things, because after that occurred, I became interested in those kinds of things and try to figure out what in the world was going on. And I really didn't give much thought to the whole Bigfoot thing that was out there. I just thought it was kind of just a bunch of silliness, and we kind of made fun of that sort of thing. And the odd part is about 2 years ago, I started kind of watching a few YouTube videos on missing people, David Paulides and Missing 411. Some of that stuff was interesting to me because I like to go hiking and backpacking and camping and that sort of thing. And so much of that stuff was going on in the national forest parks. And so it got my ears caution, my antenna caution up, and started thinking about that a little bit. And anyhow, to make a long story short, I thought to myself, well, I need to get out to some of these national forests and just do some solo camping and just see what happens. I had a little bit of a risk profile to my life, riding motorcycles and various other sundry things, much to my wife's chagrin. But anyway, I decided I'm going to just go to a national forest that's fairly nearby. I live in Texas, and I'm going to go to the Lyndon B. Johnson LBJ National Grasslands. And I thought, well, that's probably a pretty safe bet. Don't really see that there's any reports of any Sasquatch or anything on the BFRO that's anywhere nearby. And so I thought, well, if anything, I can enjoy the camp out. I can enjoy this new, freedom. I don't have to pay. Just have a nice getaway. I went midweek. It was in November of last year. I still have a little square drop camper I pulled behind my Toyota Tacoma. I drove out, found a nice spot as far away from society as I could find. It was kind of out in the middle of nowhere, I guess you could say. It was at one of the campsites. It had a couple of fire rings, and it was nice and secluded, and I'll just back the camper up in there, and I did, and set up all my gear, had everything going. Had a great day. Just the weather was nice. It wasn't too cold yet. Made dinner, had dinner, sat by the fire. And as the sun began to go down, what was kind of strange is there really wasn't any noise in the forested area. They call it the grasslands, and it's kind of deceiving because there's grasslands, but there's also some forested areas, and I was kind of in that area because I like to have some forest around. It's kind of nice. And I started hearing as it got dark, I started hearing the coyotes going crazy. I've heard coyotes go crazy before, but it was kind of odd because it was like more coyotes than normal is what it sounded like. And they were just hooting and hollering and making all kinds of racket. And then after they finished, I heard this kind of I don't even really know how to give it a good description. It just sounded like a guttural, kind of a scream. It was both a kind of a low guttural reverberation along with a high-pitched screech kind of thing. And I was thinking, man, that is the strangest thing I've ever heard. And I didn't give it too much thought as far as thinking, well, maybe this is some kind of a Sasquatcher thing. I just kind of thought, well, that's odd. And I did feel a little bit uncomfortable, though, as I was sitting by the fire after that happened. And I decided I was just going to kind of call it an early night and not keep stoking the fire. And so as I noticed that the fire was down pretty low, I kicked a little bit of dirt on it, and I went into the camper and I locked the doors. And I had not been laying down for more than about, 20 minutes, I guess, kind of just trying to relax and think about going to sleep. And all of a sudden, whack, there was like it sounded like a large rock hit the outside of the camper. And I was just kind of like, I was startled, and I had brought my weapon with me. I had a 10mm pistol, and I just had my hand on it. It was just it really had me startled. And the strange thing at that point was that I had remembered listening to some episodes from like Sasquatch Chronicles about people having episodes with these things where they throw rocks. And when that happened, I thought, well, maybe it's just some strange kind of coincidence or something. And, it's nothing. It's got to be nothing. And there wasn't any other campers, I should say, around me. There was no campers out there. It was pitch black. I didn't hear any sound. There were no cars, no car lights. I peeked out the windows, I didn't see anything. So I laid down, and again, I still had my hand on my gun, and I was just a little bit disturbed about what happened. And then all of a sudden, wham, another one hit, but it was a lot larger. And it sounded like it hit right next to the fan on top of my camper. And at that point, I was struck with fear. I mean, I haven't felt fear like that, and I don't even know when I felt fear like that. I just listened, and I was rigid. I couldn't move. I just didn't know what to do. My camper was completely, all my jacks were down on all four corners. The camper was not on the truck. I didn't want to jump out and try to get in my truck and try to make a run for it. I didn't know what was out there. I didn't know if there was like this creature or if there was more than one. And so I basically laid there for about 4 hours waiting, and just with this fear and anticipation that what is going to happen next. But nothing ever happened. I guess I fell asleep, and I woke up the next morning. I didn't get out of the camper until the sun was full up, and I got all my gear together as fast as I could, and I drove out of there. All I could figure is that perhaps I had encountered one of these beings.
Gordon, the way you're describing it, it definitely sounds like you probably did. That's wild, especially the call being, let's see, I wrote it down, where it was a low reverberation, but also a high screech at the same time.
Yes.
That's something I've heard close to that a lot. Yeah, that is wild. A lot of people will report there being some kind of yell or scream that sounds like two different things at once. And Squatch and Holler put in a good comment here. It said, "Whatever throws a rock has to have thumbs." Absolutely right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And everybody that I have shared it with, that be my wife, my kids, a couple of people at work, that was a mistake. I had a few negative things happen because of that, and a few people making fun of me because of it. But I did have a few others come up to me privately and express that they had had a couple of encounters, one of them from California.
Really?
And made me feel a little bit better, So, but yeah, I was just shocked. I can't believe that this thing is out there, that it exists. I say I can't believe it, but I do believe it.
Absolutely.
I'm afraid to go camping alone now, at least in way off out in the boonies.
Did you ever look to see if there'd been any other Bigfoot encounters in that same area?
I did. I looked to see if there were on the BFRO. I looked to see what counties that the LBJ National Forest was located in. And after I found those counties, I went to those counties on the BFRO, and I did see that there was one. I can't remember if it was Wise County. I can't remember which county it was, but there was one that was fairly near the national grasslands. So after that occurred, I should say this. I did share my story on the LBJ National Grasslands on a Facebook group. I don't know if I should have said that or not. But I did it anonymously. Oh, gosh. But anyway, I had a couple of guys on there come back and wanted me to message them about my occurrence there. And they had expressed to me, one of them actually expressed to me that he believed it was a Squatch encounter, that he had some experiences in the LBJ Caddo, the Caddo National
absolutely.
Forest.
Yeah.
So it was. It's just so strange to think that this is going on. Just so bizarre.
It really is, and
that nobody seems to find a body. Nobody can find seems to be able to capture one.
That's right. Yeah.
But,
from what you said, though, it sounds like you definitely you experienced something, and I would say it probably leans more towards being a Bigfoot the way you described it. But Gordon, thank you so much for calling in. I appreciate you sharing what you experienced, and there's another area for me to remember and for our listeners to remember as well. So,
all right, I appreciate you letting me call in. Thank you.
Have a good night, sir.
You too. Bye-bye.
All right, what a interesting call from Gordon. Thank you for calling in, Gordon. We'll give it a few minutes here, see if there's any other last-minute call-ins here. I am going to go ahead and bring up the BFRO real quick. Actually, let's look up that area. Texas. I think he said Wise County. Oh, cool. All right. Let's go ahead and I'm going to present, and it looks like we actually do have a Class A encounter from, he had mentioned it was Wise County, March 2001. Let's read that. And if anyone else wants to call in with a last minute encounter, this is the warning bell. So I've got the do not disturb off, and you can call on in. I'm going to read this sighting report from Wise County real quick. In March 2001 at 4:30 a.m. on my way home from work on the back road, something crossed in front of my headlights. This thing had long hair, long arms. It's between 6 to 7 feet tall and traveling fast. It crossed the road in front of me in 2 to 3 steps and stepped over a fence and went into a coastal field out of my vision. It was grayish color, but everything in that area is covered in rock crusher dust, so it could have been any color. This thing was not as hefty as the pictures on your site, but he was tall with long arms. He stood on 2 feet like a human with long arms and didn't run, but it was lumbering across the road. I told others at my work about this, and 2 other men saw the same thing on April 12th, 2001, about 1 mile from where I saw it. My boss saw it when he was a young man and stated it screamed like he had never heard before and couldn't mimic the sound it made. We live in Texas and are hesitant to speak about this, but what I saw that morning was something I've never seen before. So interesting, one of the individuals says, scream like he'd never heard before, and that kind of lines up with what Gordon heard in the same county as well. A high screech, a weird scream. But very interesting. Wow. 190 people. Guys, this is definitely a record. I appreciate y'all being here. Again, this is Bigfoot Encounters Live, where people can call in with their Bigfoot encounter if they want to share that. Live on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, and then recorded for the podcast. Usually they will fill out the guest release form, bit.ly/Bigfoot form, and then call 515-809-0165. The funny thing that I want to share, what happens every time is I forget to turn off the call forwarding for this thing, and then I get called at like 2 a.m. from like a random place. Because people don't realize that the live isn't not going and not to call at that time. So it's usually funny to wake up to a lot of messages. Yeah. Okay. Let's see.
Greg.
To accept, press 1. To send a voicemail, press 2.
Hi, this is Jeremiah.
Yes.
Are you doing a platform live right now?
Yeah, absolutely. What was your name,
About
sir?
Bigfoot? My name's Greg.
Greg, nice to talk to you. And did you happen to fill out the guest release form, Greg?
I started to write something, but my event is like so long that I can't even write it.
Okay.
Any length of time would take me forever. But something about not making fun of people and that. You mean like 5 different questions you asked?
It's a guest release form so that I can use the recording. So,
I did not.
okay. So if you could
I
make
did not
sure that
fill it
you,
out.
if you could fill that out afterwards, that would be awesome.
How do I even do that?
So there's a
I'm
website.
looking at your.
Yeah, if you go to the website bit.ly/Bigfoot form, then it's a Google form that you just fill out a few pieces of info, and you're agreeing that you're okay that you're being recorded for the podcast. So,
All right, you can send it to my Google my Gmail account.
all right.
It's a galloping1, GALLUPING1 @gmail.com.
Is that O1E spelled out or just the number 1?
Just the number 1.
All right, cool. I'm going to send that over real quick.
I just caught you guys here for 5 minutes. As I was watching here and I saw it was like a live podcast. Obviously, you can tell I'm not very tech savvy.
Oh, you're good.
So, hold on a second here.
All right, I got that sent off to you. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, Greg, and whatever you'd like to share, the floor is yours.
Give me 1 second here. I'm missing my headphones. I can see you guys, but I cannot hear you. I had to grab them real quick. My story is very, 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 let's say, unique. It happened in 2004 in the Smoky Mountains of Tennessee. What happened is I'm an adventurous type guy. I'm not afraid to do things on my own. And I decided to climb the mountain, Mount LeConte in the Smoky Mountains. And I started up the mountain late, like 3:30 in the afternoon. So like 11 miles round trip, through the mountains, not easy to do. And I stayed too long on top. There were a bunch of other people up there, but they were all staying in the cabins they have on the top of Mount LeConte. And so I ended up being the only person to come back down off the mountain, and it was getting very late. As I came down, I realized that I was going to be in the dark with no flashlight under the canopy of about a mile and a half of mountain laurel, extremely dark when there's no sunlight. But before I got there, before I went through the little tunnel to come out into that really dark area, I had this feeling come over me is that I was imminently going to die. Like I was in the process of going to be killed. And I don't know where that feeling came from. I had never experienced anything like that before in my life. And I basically stopped. And what daylight I had, because I hadn't made it down the canopy quite yet, I could still see. And I looked off to my right, and I saw what could only be described as a Cherokee Indian in full garb looking right at me. I mean, face painted, bow and arrow, whole 9 yards. And I couldn't believe what I was seeing. But in the process of seeing him, something told me to look to my right. And as I looked to my right, coming down the trail right behind me was the biggest Bigfoot you'd ever want to see. I mean, he had to have been 10 feet tall, and he was massive. And he was coming, and like I said, I had this feeling that death was imminent, and I basically was not going to survive this moment. And when I turned and looked and saw this thing coming right at me, he was still probably 40 yards away. And I caught eye contact with him. And one of the weirdest things ever happened was he was very surprised that I could see him. Like, I saw it in his eyes, like he was very shocked that I had the ability to see him. And at that moment, for some crazy reason, whenever I was able to see him, everything kind of like subsided and the fear of dying went away. It was no longer something that I was going to have to face. And I basically lost all fear of this event, of what was taking place at that moment in time. And the next thing that happened to me was I realized I still had to go to a mile and a half through the canopy in complete utter darkness. But as I went through the darkness and made it out, thank God I was in great shape at the time and, able to traverse things. It was difficult, but I made it out. One of the things I realized when I was in the dark undergrowth, there was no other animal noises. There was no insects, no noises from any animals at all. And it's August. And so that was something that struck me as being very strange. And nothing else happened. I made it back to my car. I got out of there. This is a story I've only told once of any type of event to any websites or anything before. I sent it to David Pallades, Canine Project. Never heard back from him. Did it like a year ago. And seeing your live podcast, I wanted him to bring it on there, that I've had an experience that 99% of your other people have never had. And I also had the notion and idea that I was going to die and there's nothing I was going to be able to do about it. And like I said, this Bigfoot was massive, and he never, like I said, when I saw him and he saw that I could see him in his eyes, it just, something happened. The notion that my death was imminent was no longer. And to this day, I don't know why this happened. I don't know what became of it, but it was something I'll never forget. And it changed my life from the perspective of going down that rabbit hole. There's more that goes on in this world than you'd ever realize. And so, like, the story is, though it was quick, there was a lot of things that happened in a short period of time. And like I said, I can never forget what I saw. It's ingrained in my brain to this day, even though it happened 20 years ago. I'm still totally aware of what happened and where it took place, and the whole notion of just a very strange experience. I was going to be there's only been 5 people in 50 years that disappeared in the Smoky Mountains and never found a trace of them. I was going to be number 6. There's no doubt in my mind there was never going to be a trace of me. And my kids were young. My wife would have thought I ran out on them because this thing was going to take me and I was going to die and they were never going to find me. So that's my story. Crazy it may seem. I'm one of the few people who've ever experienced something like this and lived to tell about it, knowing you were marked for death, and it did not happen. And whatever intervened on my behalf, I have no idea. Why the Cherokee knew was there, I think he was there on my behalf to say, look out, it's coming for you. And for some reason, by being able to notice him on the trail, really changed everything.
Greg, that's an incredible story.
Well, I know. I tell people that I know personally, I'm not afraid to talk about this. I don't care what people think, but like I said, I don't know why I was marked for death, but I was by myself. It was very. I was still above the canopy, not far away from it, so I could still see. But yeah, I never. The thing that's shocking about all this is the fact that my seeing him changed the whole, complexion of what was going to happen.
Right.
He was very shocked. Very shocked. I could see it in his eyes when I looked at him. But, personally, I, think that God stood in for me that day. That's the only thing I can say. I was in the wrong place, the wrong time, and by myself. And I was like going to disappear from this earth.
Wow.
That day, and it never was allowed to happen. Ultimately,
were you able to get a good look at the Bigfoot's face when you saw it? Yeah.
Yes, I saw him completely.
Okay. Do you remember any details about how the face looked like to you?
It's like what they call it, the conical head.
Mm-hmm.
So like the spear, like skull kind of go up like in a spear like that. He had a conical head, and he he did have the features of a man too, though. Like his eyes and stuff were, people say they see like a gorilla, whatever. He wasn't totally gorilla-like. He definitely had some features to them that you would not expect to be like gorilla-like, like the eyes and just the shape of the face was a little bit different than what you would expect to see. And like I said, he wasn't 8 feet. He was massive. He was a 10-foot tall, giant thing coming at me. That's why the spiritual side came into being, because I never would have had this feeling of utter dread. Like I've never experienced it before, and I've been in a couple bad situations in my life before. I've never experienced anything like that, and so it just came out of nowhere. I wasn't in fear when I was coming down the trail. It was a case of I need to get out of here as fast as I can, and I was trying to do that. But then when that happened, I stopped and tried to figure out what was truly happening to me.
Absolutely.
And that's why I think the whole Cherokee Indian thing was the spiritual side of things. Like, I think that, they obviously were at odds with these things in those mountains for centuries. So I think that's why he was there, to warn me.
Do you have any Native American heritage, Craig, that you're aware of?
I do not.
Okay. Interesting. Yes.
I do not.
There was a question from Jen in the chat, and I thought that was interesting. Question. Do you remember anything about the mouth? Did you see mouth or teeth for the Bigfoot?
Yeah, he was completely. He was dark. Okay. He was very black. There wasn't any reddish brown, and he was a very black Bigfoot. He had the hair, the long hair, fur, like stuff, and like he was fully haired. Like there was no like bald spots on him at all. Like he was completely black. Maybe the hands, like you could see a little bit of lightness to the hands, and that the lips. As I sit here and look at him right now, because I'll never forget my view. It was a split second. They were dark. The lips were dark. And like I said, the nose, as they talk about him sometimes, I wouldn't say there's anything that really stood out about that. But you have to remember, it is dusk, and I'm looking at him with what daylight I have, but I could make out his features of the size, the hair, the conical head, the facial. His face was predominantly covered with hair. It wasn't a lot of like open skin or seen. There was a lot of hair around his face, and just his eyes and nose and mouth, was exposed from the hair itself.
Interesting. Would you ever want to see this again, Greg?
Knowing what I know now, I don't fear these things like other people do. As I said, it's made me a lot more aware of there's a lot going on in this world that you don't understand. I understand a lot now, and I do not fear them and will never fear them again, because I've learned about the aspects of what they are and who they are. I've kind of gone down that rabbit hole, and there's a lot more going on with this than people really want to realize. And that's from the standpoint, this is where you're going to shut me down and not want to hear the story anymore. But there's a spiritual aspect to these things that people don't understand. They are not just physically very powerful. There's a spiritual aspect to them that's powerful. That's why I started to fear the dread and the total just like I don't stand a chance moment came over, because their aura kind of like starts to follow them where they go. It's like some people are never the same after they run into these things, and I've decided to learn about them. I've decided to dig, and I have a biblical perspective on this that doesn't sit well with a lot of people, but it's the only thing that can make sense. They're never caught. If it's anything, it's black ops that goes and takes these things down. But there's never any discovery. There's never any bodies, like other than a few times you hear things. I think there's a lot more than meets the eye. There's definitely the government, I think, knows more than what they let on about the stuff.
Oh, I agree.
It's more like black ops, and
100%.
and they try to keep it under wraps. You know what they are?
I agree that the government probably knows more than they're saying, which right now is really
Oh.
nothing. They're not really saying anything. But
You know what they are?
I
know
would
what they are.
assume you're alluding to like the Nephilim.
Yes, exactly. They're Nephilim. They have technology. They have capabilities. And that day, God stepped in for me and basically said to this thing, "You're not killing him. You're not taking him."
Mm.
It was stopped right then and there. God intervened and said that you are not going to kill this person tonight. It is not going to happen. He stopped them. That's why all fear subsided, and I was able to turn around and continue on and try to be as safe as I could, considering I was going to be in complete darkness. There was no sound around me. The other thing I had to fear is black bears,
Right.
going down into their territory, and never heard anything from any animals at all. And, I'm a hunter. I hunt. In the woods, I do a lot of things, and it was very strange that everything was so quiet. I mean, was that thing following me? I'll never know, but he wasn't allowed to touch me. I promise you that. And I didn't have fear of dying anymore. That did not enter into the equation. I did not fear this thing. I feared more of a black bear running across its path than I did this thing. And, you would think that would change me forever in my life. It just taught me that there's a lot of strangeness in this world that a lot of people don't want to understand. It's not a matter of can't understand. They don't want to know the truth. They don't want
Right.
to know what's happening out there because they love their, to live in their little worlds, and there can't be all these other side ventures. I mean, why does it exist? I don't know. I know it's a spiritual warfare between God and Satan, and these Nephilim are an abomination unto God. And, they are basically forever damned because of the consequences of the sin that they were created through. And they do kill people. People come up missing. I mean, it's more prevalent in other areas in the Smoky Mountains, but they are in the Smoky Mountains. I've had other times when I've been there where I had an uneasy feeling, after 2004, 2008, I felt something was like around me. But it was broad daylight. I never saw anything, but I had an uneasy feeling. And like I said, they're in the Smokies. It just, not much happens with respect to people coming up missing, but they're there. So that's my story. I, really have never gone national with anything. I did try to do David Pallades, and was very shocked that I spent 4 or 5 page paper, and he never responded back. It's been a year, and it kind of ticks me off because the story is unusual, and it's one where I was basically marked to die, and it didn't happen. And usually, if I think you're marked to die, you're going to die. But being a Christian, God intervened on my behalf.
Absolutely. Do you listen to the show, Greg?
I do not.
Okay, so I would recommend you listen to a recent episode, number 417, with there's a researcher from the area down where you're at. His name is Harley Owens, and I think you'll find it very interesting. He's in the same viewpoint that you are about what these creatures are. So I would recommend you check that out.
I will. We're 17. I'll have to do it. I did have one other case that happened to me at my own home.
Oh, really?
I live in Pennsylvania. It was wood knocking. I was walking with my dog on the back side of what I call the Black Forest. It's like this mile-long oval road that goes around, and it's all hemlocks. And I was out there, and it was March of 2016. It was still snow on the ground. It was windy. It was cold. But I was taking my dog for a walk, and I'm not afraid to travel down the back road at night or whatever. It doesn't bother me. But as I walked down and got further down, I heard very distinctly 5 wood knocks that, like, I knew there was no person in the middle of these hemlocks at 9:30 at night, on a cold, windy night. And nobody was playing tricks on me, because I wouldn't even do that, and I'd be the one that would play these pranks. And I had 5 distinct wood knocks that were very solid and very hard. It wasn't trees going against each other. It was distinct wood knocks. But the one thing I know how to do now that I didn't do then is I rebuke them in the name of Jesus Christ. they have to run. They cannot stand when you stand in the power of Christ. They have to run. I don't care how big they are. They will leave the area. Never had a problem with it again. And I'd never have a problem with these things ever again. I would fear a black bear before I'd fear a Bigfoot, because I know my spiritual stance. I know where I stand with Christ, and the power of the blood of Christ stops all of these things. They can't stay. They have to leave. So, people like ever run into problems that are hiking or doing something and they hear noises, whatever. All right, maybe a bear's around. But the one thing you can do is just in the name of Jesus Christ, I rebuke you and force them to leave. And they leave. Because standing beside you could be a 30-foot angel that you don't see, that they do. And they know better. So the power is in the blood of Jesus Christ. I might sound like a really good Christian. I have my faults. I'm not exactly the strongest guy. But I do believe in the blood, and I do believe in the power. And these things can't stand. UFOs can't stand. They can't stand around. It's just too much. A lot of people would have turned me off right now. But I know where I stand with, like Christ, and I understand more about why these things are around. And I know it's a spiritual battle that's going to culminate in the end here soon. But it's still taking place as we speak.
I agree with you, Greg.
People don't ever.
I agree with you.
All right. I'll let it be at that then.
Thank you for
I won't
calling
say
in.
any more about this.
Greg,
All right. Well, let people know.
I mean, one of the best calls I've had for sure. If you could take a minute, there's the description for this episode on YouTube. There's a link at the top for that guest release form. If you could try to fill that out tonight, that would be awesome. I would love to be able to use this and, get this, what you shared out to a lot more people. That would be great. So thank you so much for calling in.
It's yeah. All right. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Have a good one, Greg.
Okay. Talk to you later. All right. Bye.
That was good stuff. I'm going to have to talk to Harley about that to see if he knows anything about Mount LeConte in Tennessee. That's down by his area for sure. So, guys, we're having it's a fun night. I mean, this is a super. It's a record. It's over. We're over 200 live. 206 live. We're having a great time. People are chatting with each other in the comments. We're having a lot of encounters tonight. I'm going to talk a little bit more about some other stuff. But guys, if you have a Bigfoot encounter to call in with, now is the time to do it. We've got a few minutes left. All you have to do is go to bit.ly/Bigfoot forum, bit.ly/Bigfoot forum, fill out the guest release, because this is live on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. And then that allows me to use it on the Bigfoot Society podcast. And then you just call 515-809-0165. Good to see you, Burton. Thanks for the kind words. I'm going to be on for a few more minutes. We'll see if anyone else wants to call in here at the last few. We'll say about 10 more minutes I'll be on for. I just want to shout out a few things here. First, thanks to everyone who's watching this live. It's a late night for some of y'all. It's 207 people. I appreciate you. If you've never listened to the Bigfoot Society podcast, it's a podcast I do every week. I release multiple episodes where I talk to people about their Bigfoot encounters. Uh-oh, it's party time.
Two.
Hi, this is Jeremiah.
Hi, Jeremiah. This is William.
Hey, William, how's it going?
And I have pretty good. I had a story of a sighting for you.
Oh, sorry. Real quick, William, I want to make sure people can hear you in the chat, so I'm going to wait for someone to say that we can hear William. So we'll give that a minute. Have I talked to you before, William?
I don't think so.
Okay, cool. Well, pleasure to talk to you. And were you able to fill out the guest release form?
I did.
Awesome. All right. Yes. Okay. We can hear you. So, William, I'm so glad you called in. I'm going to let you go ahead and share what you've experienced to help everyone else.
Okay. So, actually, way back in 1980, so it's been now 44 years ago, I guess, I was a college student and I was working as a lifeguard at a lake in Arkansas called Blue Lake. It was just across the river, Mississippi River from Memphis. So it was in eastern Arkansas. And what we would do, I was working as a lifeguard basically. Like it was like a swimming, picnicking, camping, kind of a place. Anyway, after you've got a map of it. I see it there. You're very close to it. It's almost at the Tennessee-Mississippi state line border, just across, on the Arkansas side. At any rate, it's still there. I knew the people who owned it, and I worked for them as a lifeguard there for some time. And one of the other lifeguards and myself, that's there it is. I see it on your screen now. We're out fishing one night. We would go out and take like a small boat, John boat type thing, out with a trolling motor. So we're fishing very quietly, probably 10, 15 yards offshore. We would be just paralleling the shore, and we're quiet. We weren't talking. Close to sunset, but still very light, probably 7-ish in the evening. And this was June of 1980. And we heard some rustling, I guess, on the bank, beside the where we were drifting from. We looked up, and there was something in the bushes that we could see from basically shoulders up. We couldn't see anything below that looked kind of like a person, but it had hair over everything but the face, and stared at us for a few seconds or so, but it's certainly enough so that we got a pretty good look at it, and he got a pretty good look at us. I got sort of the impression that we had startled him, or we had surprised him because we were coming up slowly and quietly. Anyway, looked at us for a few seconds, turned around, raced back into the underbrush. It was very wooded, very heavily, lots of heavy underbrush. We heard him for a few seconds, him or her, for a few seconds. Never heard any vocalizations or anything like that, but it clearly was not a man, something unknown. At any rate, so I've been interested in the topic since then. Actually, I was interested in it before that. I actually saw the Patterson Gimlin film way back when it came into the theaters back in the late 60s. But that was the sighting that I had. And I've been on a couple of Bigfoot hunts since then in recent years, but I've never seen anything like that again. Like I say, I can't swear that I know what it was. I don't think it was human. And there are no apes, living in Arkansas that I know of. But that's pretty much what it was. That was the summary of it. It didn't last longer than 10 seconds or so at the most. But the view was unequivocal. In other words, we could see it very clearly. It was still daylight enough that there were no shadows on the face or the shoulders. And it was clear, that we saw something that we didn't understand.
Did you seeing that, did it put any emotion in you at all? Did you start feeling a certain way?
Well, we were a little scared. We were out there at the lake by ourselves because, like I said, this was after we closed the gate at the lake. We kicked all the swimmers out, and every evening we did that. So he and I were out there by ourselves, and we were scared. I remember after that we kind of went on back down to where our little cabin was, where we stayed, which is maybe half a mile away from where we saw it. Went back up into the cabin and closed and locked the doors, and we didn't even talk about it for the longest time because we didn't know what to say about it. I won't say we were, what's the right word? Anything other than both scared and surprised. We didn't know what to make of it, just exactly.
And were you able to see any details of the face of what it is that you saw?
Yeah. The face and the down to the shoulders and maybe about nipple level were visible, but below that it was obscured by bushes and stuff, the undergrowth along the shore of the lake. So the face, as best I can recall now, I can see it in my mind, was outlined in hair. In other words, the forehead, the cheeks, the chin, and obviously eyes and nose were hair free, but they were dark, I won't say directly black, but very dark brown. And it was, I thought, something close to human looking. If you had to compare it to a human or an ape, it was probably closer to human than ape. So, which is another reason why we didn't know exactly what we were looking at. So it was, it had two eyes, more or less normal sized nose, and more or less normal sized mouth. And like I said, the face itself was free of hair, but the top of the head, the sides of the head, the shoulders, the chest were all covered in fur.
Do you remember what color the eyes were? Roger is asking in the chat.
Just dark is all I remember, really. It could have been brown or black, but just dark, really, is what I would say.
Were they? Did they have pupils like a human would, or were the pupils really large? Or
I don't know if I can really say that.
Sure.
I don't. We were, like I say, 15 yards away from it, and we were out in the water on the boat, and that was up on the shoreline. So I can't really say that.
It's a very interesting account in that, it's a quick account, but it puts another dot on the map for sure. So I appreciate you calling in order to share what you experienced, William.
Well, you're welcome. There's been 2 or 3 other reported encounters in that area. One just across the river on President's Island. There's been a couple others in that general vicinity, but not many. I wonder if it's that they're just passing through there. I don't think there's a colony there like there are in maybe some other places.
Hold
just
on.
they come through there occasionally because it's very wooded, and that's it's passed through.
Did you say President's Island?
Yes, which is right is in the Mississippi River. Directly below Memphis. It's like an industrial complex, but it's also got a fair amount of, undeveloped area. In fact, you can probably find it on your map there that you're looking at now. And there's at least 1 or 2 reports there.
Yeah. There was another caller that called in a while back about having an encounter in this same area, because I remember the President's Island.
Yeah, President's Island is probably less than half a mile as the crow flies from Blue Lake.
Oh, man, that's wild. That is really crazy. I'm looking at the map real quick. This scroll is...
Yeah, that's Blue Lake that's looking at now.
What are the other lakes by Blue Lake? Do you remember?
So just to the south of that is Horseshoe Lake, which is much more developed than Blue Lake, and it has lots of homes and marinas and stuff like that. Blue Lake is privately owned. The family that owned it when I was there had sold it a few years later, and it's still privately owned, but I don't know who the owners are now.
This is wild because from what I remember, and this is like a while back that someone called in, I'm pretty sure it's the same lake area. And yeah, a guy called in and they saw, because this is the first time you've called in, right, William?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is wild because it's a very similar report in this almost the same exact area, and I can't remember the exact episode that was, but yeah, I did have another caller call in this same area, so definitely try to find that in the archives.
Yeah,
it's
that
in one of the
area
live episodes, so
yeah, it's all that's in the floodplain of the Mississippi River, so it's uninhabited.
okay.
So there's an area of maybe 2 or 3 miles back from the river that is totally, like I said, uninhabited and covered by cypress and pine trees. So there's a lot of area to hide out in on either side of the river there. So which is why, and when the river's high, you can actually go by boat from Blue Lake to the Mississippi River over to Memphis if you wanted to.
Interesting. I definitely have to keep this area more in mind now that I've had 2 people call in about it for sure. Yeah, William, any other observations about the Bigfoot in this area, William?
Not really. Like I said, we didn't hear any vocalizations. We didn't smell anything. We had never seen anything before or since. I mean, we would hear sounds out there, but we always attributed them to coyotes or something else. So nothing I could really be definitive about.
Sure. Well, I appreciate you calling in, William. Definitely let us know if you hear about anything else in there in the future.
Sure thing. Thank you so much.
All right. You have a great night, sir. Well, that was fun. That was fun talking to William. Man, we are having a great night. We were up over, I think we're up to almost 210 a while back. Thank you all for hanging out with me tonight. This is Bigfoot Encounters live show from from Bigfoot Society Podcast. We are going to do this for about 10 more minutes. So if you have a Bigfoot encounter you'd like to share, now is the time to call in. Please fill out the guest release form first, bit.ly/Bigfoot form. Then call 515-809-0165. That's because this is broadcast live on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, and it's recorded live for potential use on the Bigfoot Society podcast. So need to have the guest release forms for that. A few other things. If you want to go deeper and get involved with the community, there's a few ways to do that. You can become a Patreon member over at patreon.com/the Bigfoot Society. You will get an extra episode every week on Wednesday. This week's coming episode is out already, so you could listen to, I think we're about up to 11 or 12 members only episodes now. You can also click the join button on this YouTube channel, become a YouTube channel member, and you can access the members only episodes on YouTube as well. Patreon's a little bit more of a community though, because there's a lot of us chatting throughout the day, and we do watch parties. We do a Google Hangout at the end of the month. It's a good time. So consider for the price of a cup of coffee, you can become a Patreon member over patreon.com/the Bigfoot Society. And the goal with that is to become full-time, which will allow me to go to people directly and interview them. There's a lot of people that wouldn't be interviewed over the phone. I would have to go to their place directly just because of their situations. So that helps out with that. Helps me go to different places and do interviews in person. If you want to meet me this year, there are a few ways to do that. You can go to, let's see, we've got Monster Fest 2 coming up soon in Canton, Ohio. I'll be there as a guest of Seth Breedlove and Small Town Monsters. I'll be doing an episode of Bigfoot Society live that day. And I will have Justin or Mr. E from Cryptids of the Corn as my guest. it's gonna be a great day. There's gonna be so much to do there. If you can make it to Monster Fest 2, I recommend you do. I'm also going to be at Sasquatch Summerfest in Oak Ridge, Oregon, this coming July. Be out there for a few days, hopefully doing some in-person interviews from people around, meeting people. I won't be vending or speaking, but I was invited to come out and check it out. They're letting me hang out at the they're helping me out a little bit, so I appreciate that. But if you're out there for that, if you're in the Pacific Northwest, I would recommend that you check it out. Hopefully I see you there. If you're in Iowa, end of September, we're having the Van Meter Visitor Festival, and there'll be some Bigfoot action at that. I'll have my table set up, and I always like people coming over to the booth and telling me about their Iowa Bigfoot encounters. Always a good time helping to run that festival as well, because it is in my area. I live close by to there. But guys, it has been a fun time tonight. It's just been such a good time. I appreciate you all calling in. Make sure you hit the replay on this in a few minutes if you weren't able to catch all of it live. Make sure you're subscribed to this channel, hit the thumbs up, and hit the bell so you don't miss any future episodes when they're released. And it's been a great night, guys. Make sure you're subscribed to my buddy Squatch and Holler. If you like the content on this channel, then you will love the stuff on Squatch and Holler's channel. And yeah, every Saturday night at 8:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, I will be going live and taking calls, unless I am on location in the field. Then 9 out of 10 times I'm going to be doing this. So that's why you want to make sure you're subscribed and you hit the bell icon. Guys, have a great night. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Get some rest if you can. And we will see you next Saturday. Thanks all.